Hello, students. I heard that yesterday the lesson did not go as I had planned. So many of you will be lost or need the lesson to understand equations. So unfortunately today I have to do a video for you, tonight actually, so that you can get this lesson correct. And you will have not only what you were supposed to do for homework last night, but also what I wanted you to do for homework tonight. So you're going to need to get busy and you need to finish all of these things by Thursday because I want everybody caught up and on the same page by Thursday. So today we are going to be talking about a teeter-totter. A teeter-totter is one of these things. You have seen them at playgrounds before that go up and down depending on how you push off of them or the weight on them. We're going to use sets of books, like this paperback book, which is very light and flimsy, and this textbook, which is very sturdy, big, and heavy. And we're going to do different, I'm going to do different things with the textbooks, and I want you to imagine that they are in your hands as well and participate along with me. So, when you have a teeter-totter, first, it could start off balanced. Then, I want you to imagine that I have just placed a heavy textbook in your left hand. Once I place the textbook in your left hand, your teeter-totter should tilt to the left. Now, what would happen if I just placed a heavy textbook in your right hand? So now you have a textbook in both hands. Your teeter-totter should now come back to being balanced. What if I placed another heavy textbook in each of your hands? What would your teeter-totter look like? Hopefully you said balanced, if I can balance these. Now, I'm going to put a paperback book in your right hand. What's going to happen to your teeter-totter? Should have had my assistant Owen do this for me. Owen, you want to help me? Okay, you can't see the... Now you have the little book in your right hand and the two big books in your left hand. Even though the little book is just slightly heavier, it is going to require the teeter-totter to tilt slightly. Now imagine that I've placed a paperback book in your left hand. What is going to happen to your teeter-totter? So now I have two big books and a little book in each hand. Hopefully you figured out that your teeter-totter should stay balanced. What if I placed two more paperback books in each of your hands? So here's two more on the right, two more on the left. Imagine what your teeter-totter will look like now. Since I have the same thing in both hands, your teeter-totter should be balanced. Now, what if I removed a heavy textbook from each of your hands? Oh, good. These were getting heavy. So if I remove one from both hands, now what do I have? Now my teeter-totter is still balanced because in my right hand I have a big textbook and three little. In my left hand I have a textbook and three little. Now what if I removed a textbook, heavy textbook from my left hand? What happens to our teeter-totter now? Hopefully, you said it would tilt this way. It would tilt to the right. Now, what if I removed a light paperback book from my right hand? So I remove this. I still have the three in my left, and I have the heavy on my one heavy and two light on my right. Hopefully, you know that your teeter-totter would still stay tilted to the right, because even though there's three books over here and three books over here, these three books are much lighter than this one heavy book and the two light books. Now I want you to think about What did I do that caused the teeter-totter to stay balanced? What events allowed the teeter-totter just to stay perfectly balanced? And what events made the teeter-totter tilt one way or the other? Think about that for a moment. Okay, hopefully you had some thoughts about what kept the teeter-totter balanced and what made the teeter-totter tilt. Here are the notes that we would have come up with together as a class. So, things that kept the teeter-totter balanced. And in math, when something is balanced, we also use the word equal. So, the teeter-totter was balanced when we had the exact same thing on both sides. When we started and had nothing, or once we added the heavy book and the heavy book. That is when our teeter-totter became balanced. It also remained balanced when we removed the exact same thing from both sides of the teeter-totter. So when we're talking about balancing equations, I want you to visualize the teeter-totter and what's happening to each side of your equation. Another event that allowed our teeter-totter to stay balanced is when we added the same amount to both sides. If we started with a heavy book and a heavy book, and then I added 2 light books and 2 light books to both sides, it still remained balanced. How to get we get things unbalanced, or in math we call this unequal, and we use our inequality signs here to demonstrate when things are unequal. Well, whenever we had less in one hand and more in another hand, it was unequal. So this is the less than sign, or if we had greater over here and less over here, the greater sign. That happened when we took away from one side but not the other, or when we added to one side but not the other. So hopefully you have realized how we keep things the same and how we get things unequal or unbalanced. So our next step is to take the same situation, and instead of doing it physically with the actual books, now we're going to go to our math notebooks and we're going to take it to a drawing, so a visual of how, and we know that's a good thinking strategy to use, and then we're going to take it to the symbolic or abstract method, which is ultimately algebra. So we're going to do those same 9 steps that we did with the other books when I physically did them up here in your math notebook. So you need the 4 sheets of the worksheet. So go to the back table and pick up these 4 sheets. They should be in order. So you need one that looks like this and says Teeter Totter Trials. You need one that looks like this that says HW on it. You need one that looks like this and says Symbolic Notation. And you need one like this that says Homework 6 through 9. Once you have those papers, come back and push play on the video again. Now that you have your 4 papers, please get out your math notebook and go to your table of contents, and we are going to put our next entry in, which is going to be called Teeter Totter Trials, Balancing Equations. For me, it's page 69, but for you, it just needs to be whatever your next available page is. Once you have that written, please turn to your next available page. And I need you to glue down the Teeter Totter Trials for me. All right, I'm going to walk you through the first 3 steps of the Teeter Totter Trials, and then we're going to glue the rest of the pages down, and then I'll show you what your homework is. So, we are going to draw pictures below that model what happens through those 8 steps that we did with the books. We are going to let this shape, which is a parallelogram, and the big one's going to equal the heavy book, and a smaller one is going to equal the light book. Before this begins, the teeter-totter should look balanced. And when we are thinking about our hands, you're going to be thinking that your face is looking out. So this is your left hand and this is your right hand. Okay? So if I have just placed a heavy textbook in your left hand, what is going to happen to this teeter-totter? Well, the teeter-totter is going to tilt. And what do we have in the left hand? A heavy textbook. So you need to draw the big, heavy textbook. Now, each step that we go through, every time we do this, what you have on the teeter-totter is still going to be on the teeter-totter. So number 2, where it says I have just placed a heavy textbook in your right hand, you still have this textbook in your left hand. So if this is in your left hand and another heavy textbook is going in your right hand, what's going to happen to the teeter-totter? Hopefully you said it would be balanced because you would have a heavy and a heavy book on both sides. Then, again, you still have the 2 heavy books, one on the left and one on the right. Now I have placed another heavy textbook in each of your hands. So please draw what that would look like and what your teeter-totter would look like for me. Hopefully, you drew a balanced teeter-totter with 2 big books on it. Now, for homework tonight, you are going to continue the same process, drawing the books and deciding what your teeter-totter would look like. Remember when you get to number 4 on the back that you have these 2 heavy books still on your teeter-totter. So now, on the back, you need to glue the page that says number 4. I have placed a paperback book in your right hand. It has HW on it. I expect this to be completed on Thursday when you come to class. Then we need to glue on our symbolic notation page, which should go on the next page. This is where we go from drawing the pictures to the actual math. What does this mean when we are actually doing the math part of it? So we're going to go back through the 9 problems and write each problem using symbolic notation. The symbol we use in math to indicate balance is the equal sign. Balance means equality. If something is unbalanced or unequal, we use greater than or less than signs. The less than sign looks like this, which means the left side of the equation is lighter or less, such as 5 is less than 9. This is the greater than sign. It is greater than, which means the left side of the equation is heavier or greater. 9 is greater than 5, so this is heavier, this is lighter. There are 2 ways to remember how to place your inequality sign. The crocodile always wants to eat the bigger side, or Pac-Man, whoever you prefer to visualize. Or you can place 2 dots next to the greater side, like this 9, and 1 dot next to the lower side, the 5, and then connect the dots, and it will always connect in the correct fashion. So, before we begin, the teeter-totter is balanced because we have nothing on both sides. So 0 equals 0. And just remember, this is the left side and this is the right. So I have just placed a heavy textbook in your hand. I have just placed a heavy textbook in your left hand. And since this is you, this is your left hand, this is your right hand, this is left, this is right. So if I place a heavy textbook in your left hand, that would be the symbol B. So we would put a B over here. What do you have in your right hand? 0. So if 0 is in your right hand and you have 1 heavy book in your left hand, are you balanced or equal, or are they unequal? Hopefully you said they are unequal, and that means this is heavier, this is lighter, so 0 is less than B, or 0 is less than the big book. Please go to the website now and open up the second video regarding teeter-totter trials.